Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. At this time, we will reopen the public hearing from last week, and I'll ask Kevin to bring us up to speed.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before we get started, since we're continuing the public hearing from last week, for those that would like to speak tonight that were not sworn at the previous meeting, if you'd go ahead and make your way up to Sharon, and she'll have you sworn in. What I plan to do is go through a couple of slides that shows photographs of the site, a few more than what we provided in your packet last week, and go through a few changes from the previous plan, including the site plan and the architectural elevations, and then let the applicant come up and explain the changes that they've made and also respond to the questions that were provided for them at the end of last week. So, again, this is conditional use permit 2015-02 for Blowing Rock Medical Park. The current building is 8439 Valley Boulevard. We call it the old Blowing Rock Renovators building. And it also involves the property just to the south, Curtis Deems. It was his former property and has been purchased by the applicant. This view is from the southwest, showing the building from across the street. Another closer view of the building. This is from that was from the northwest. This is from the southwest, looking across the new 2 lanes of 321. Where the car is parked is just about in the middle of the Curtis Deem lot. This is standing just south of the one of the lower entrances into the proposed site. DOT has already provided 2 curb cuts for this location. A little further south on the property, just about the limits of the site, the south limits of the site. One change that you'll note as we look through the architectural plans or the elevations is that the elevation, the entrance is going to be here again. It was going to be here on the side of the building. There's a covered entry, and you'll see it in the plans. It's going to be in this location here. This is from the northeast corner of the property, looking at the rear handicap access coming out of the back of the building, and Skyland Drive is just there to the left. A little further up on Skyland Drive, looking at the back of the property, you can see some of the buffer that exists right behind the building. As you get further up the street, that buffer is a little thicker and would back up to the proposed parking lot. This is standing on the other side, looking down the street, looking back at the back of the building. Further up, again, showing some of the buffer that's existing. You see how steep the slope is back there. Won't be a whole lot that will change with that slope as far as planting anything on that part. As you get further back down in this area and in there, the applicant is planning to put a couple more screening trees in that area to provide a little bit of a breakup of the back of the building. That's standing in Skyland Drive overlooking the parking lot to the north would be the existing parking. The stairway right there and the deck platform, that will be removed as part of the project. That's looking at the buffer that exists between Subway and the site. all too familiar DOT barrels. Looking across the site, from across the street, and I'll cover this in the site plan, with the parking, the handicap parking that's going to be moved is going to be in this area right here, where the old handicap parking was. This is a previously submitted site plan with the handicap down in front of the road along Valley Boulevard. That was a blow up of that of the building. This is the updated plan where the handicap space has been moved up next to the building, and with the new entrance at the front right corner with the office that was planned in that location to be in the middle here. They put that bump out back into the site plan. The previously submitted front building elevation. This is updated with a gable to accommodate that bump out on the front of the building. And there's the entryway I was talking about. Previously, that's the floor plan that was submitted earlier. This is the updated floor plan. Black and white elevation that was previously submitted. Also the south elevation. I don't have the other updated, but I do have the updated black and white on the south end of the building. Before and after previously, and the updated version. With that, I could answer questions, or the applicant can come up this time and give you some details on the updated plans that they provided for us and their answers to the questions that we submitted to them. So, any questions for me?
I guess one of the questions that really hit me the last time, did you actually move where the wheelchair ramp, when you go backwards, was that moved up beside the building? Because that was the only, I think,
Yes.
safety question that was brought out last time.
Let me get to this one.
Yeah. So that was-
Originally, it was going to be, they were going to come down with the move. I mean, this is where it was previously.
Right, right.
Connecting straight over, and then they were going to ramp to this
Right.
area. Now they will come over,
Okay,
come down,
all right.
and then go into this door. They won't be coming back up. They're going to,
And they won't-
secondary access, I believe, but this is going to be the main access.
So they won't be crossing the drive like they were?
No.
Okay, thanks.
You know, you see the path. This will be van accessible space, and this will be the access path right here. They were able to remove one. They're down to 25 parking spaces. They were at 26. That's one change because the reconfiguration left them with a little bit less space. So by going to 25, they only required to have one.
What's the grade from the new one toward 321?
Applicant will do a better job of that. I don't have the specifics on the grade. Okay. Come on. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Dan Cheveline, Cheveline Engineering, civil engineer on the project. And I'm sorry, what's the question again? The grade from?
Grade from the handicap.
Grade from the back, where the handicap is going to be, to the road.
We're going to maintain a 2% at the parking space. That's ADA requirement. So you're seeing it, we'll be at, the red? There you go. It's going to be, generally the contours are diagonal across the site. We're going to be at 2% in this area, where where parking space is in this access aisle. And about a half a foot to a foot below finished grade of the building. So we'll meet ADA from that parking space to the door. If that's,
Thank you for moving that rolling. We appreciate that.
okay?
Any other questions? Anyone would like to speak? Go ahead. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Albert Coffey. My brother and I own the property immediately across the US 321 from the subject property. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak, and I apologize for not being able to be here last week. Just as an aside, I was thinking even today, you know, we live in a great country where we can come and have our say and offer our perspectives on things, and that should not be taken lightly. I just want to say that I feel that an urgent care facility would be a good match for that location. And since we live directly across from it and our family home is there, I think that that it would certainly be an asset to that part of town. So, in short, I have no objection to the facility. I think that it looks good. The landscaping, from my perspective and that of my brother also, a co-owner, we support it. This is a much-needed facility for Blowing Rock. If parents wake up in the middle of the night at a motel down here and their child has an earache, they need a place to go. And they don't need to have to go to Boone and sit through the process of the emergency room. We've all been down that road. So it would make us, in my opinion, and from my perspective, a more complete town. And I would hope that you could, you council members could work with Kevin and the applicant and work out the details so that this would be something that would be in place over there in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I, as a hotel owner, want to express something that happened just 2 weeks ago. We had a gentleman and his wife who are regular guests at our inn, was coming in off the Parkway, couldn't get her motorcycle to throttle down. He tried to help her. The next thing, the motorcycle is on top of him. He got a bad sprain on his ankle. By the time they got to the hotel and they called me in to look at it, for some reason they think I'm very good at medical things, but we got in there, we looked at it, we said, yeah, you got to get this taken care of. Our first thought was emergency medical clinic. By the time we got them into my car and I was able to get them to Boone, we went to both emergency clinics. They both were closed. We ended up having to go to the emergency room, which again runs up costs and takes up a lot of time in emergency rooms, which I think in this country right now we are looking to reduce costs and not elevate them. If we had this medical center here in Blowing Rock, we could have made that in time. We could have made it in their hours, and this could have been taken care of very carefully and done well and not had to ride all over to get them to where they needed to be. So I have a prime example. It was bad enough that he ended up, bless his heart, he had to spend a whole week with me. We need, poor guy. Yeah. But we need this type of business. We also need businesses that will come in and support us as a community and bring us tax revenue. They will be very supportive to our community, and we need to be business friendly to businesses that want to come into our community and be supportive of them. And this would be a great asset to our community. I hope you vote positive.
Thank you, Deborah. Anyone else? Ken?
I think it's also a beautiful facility. I haven't sold my dirt bike yet, so I may be needing them. And I would tell you that they've done a nice architectural job on it. You know, I had not seen this prior to all the publicity that blew out from the last meeting. And I'll skip over all that because I wasn't here, and secondhand knowledge is very dangerous. But I just say that I agree with the comments previously made. Not only do we need it, and I think they've done a nice job and fulfill the handicap requirements and things like that to make it more fitting to what you're looking for. But I think the comment that she ended with is very important. As we heard the hospital lot coming up for sale, as many of us attended a meeting a couple weeks ago, we're still hearing those comments about contractors and developers being scared to come to Bowling Rock because it's going to be difficult to get things done here. We need to be business friendly and be known for that. And I know you have a juggling act to do when you're trying to keep that village atmosphere, because that is very hard to balance. And the taxes, she's already commented on it, that's a big balancing act. We know that business takes up less services for the tax dollars they pay than homes. Always has been the case across our nation. So that balance has to be there. This will be a great facility for Bowling Rock. I'd love to see us be known as a little more business friendly along the way as you balance trying to keep the village. So I would certainly ask you to vote positively for this project.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Steve?
Thanks for giving me a chance to speak. Mine's selfish. I'm worried about getting sick, worried about breaking an arm, having a heart attack. I don't want to have to wait to go to Boone to have some emergency service. So that's the reason I would totally endorse it.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else? Anybody have questions of the applicants?
Just want to thank you for putting the wheelchair parking spot in a safer area. Do appreciate that. You took it out of the ingress and the egress, which could have been dangerous to people using it. So thank you so much.
If there's no other questions or comments, we'll ask for close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Your second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Well, at this time, I'll entertain a motion for action.
I got one, Mr. Mayor. I make the motion we accept CUP 2015-2 as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Being none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed vote no. Motion carries. Thank you all for being here. We look forward to you opening